Hello everyone. Last time our colony somehow survived. We fought off raiders, battled disease and turned a desperate crash site into the beginnings of a real home. Supplies are running low, our colonists are exhausted, and Cassandra is only just getting started. Every decision matters, and one mistake could bring everything crashing down. In today's episode, we'll try to expand the colony, strengthen our defences, and stay one step ahead of what Cassandra can throw at us next. Welcome back to episode 3 of our RimWorld Crash Landed playthrough. A nearby stash of glitter-oiled medicine sounded tempting, but with our colony still vulnerable, the risk was simply too high. We made the difficult decision to turn the quest down and focus on keeping our own people alive. Another transport pod fell from the sky. Inside was Dawson, a young musician, battered but alive. We rushed him back to the colony, patched up his injuries, and gave him a safe place to recover. Once he was back on his feet, Dawson thanked us and returned to his faction. A raid from the League of Lavago had decided to attack, all armed for melee combat and charging straight at the colony. Rather than meet them head-on, we took cover behind the buildings and forced them to come to us. As the raiders closed their distance, Benny stepped out in front, shielding the rest of the colony while everyone else focused on their fire. The plan worked. The attackers were overwhelmed, and when the dust settled, we had 3 survivors: Albobi, Notra, and Toxos. Instead of leaving them where they fell, we patched up their wounds and hauled them into the storage room, converting it into a makeshift prison with a few temporary beds. Moments after being brought inside, Toxos succumbed to his wounds. That left Albobi and Notra as our only prisoners. A wanderer named Humps arrived at our doorstep, claiming they were looking for a new place to call home. With extra hands in short supply, it wasn't a difficult decision. We welcomed Humps into the colony without hesitation. Notra snaps under the pressure and goes berserk, turning on anyone nearby, but before the situation can escalate, Albobi steps in. With our supplies running low, a stroke of luck arrives in the form of a bulk goods trader from the Barbarous Covenant. We take the opportunity to clear out the excess resources and make some much needed silver. It was really gutsy of the Lynx to try and attack those traders. Our fragile peace with the prisoners doesn't last long. Notra, Albobi and Zippy attempt a daring prison break, catching the colony off guard. The escape quickly falls apart as Zippy is the first to go down, followed by Notra. Humps gives chase and manages to run down Albobi before he can make his escape. With the rebellion crushed, all 3 prisoners are dragged back into their cells. Everything seems under control, until Benny completely loses it. Without warning, he flies into a sadistic rage and storms right for the prison cells. His first target is Zippy, who takes a brutal beating before anyone can react. But Benny isn't finished. He pushes past Zippy and turns his attention to Notra, raising his fist for another attack. Thankfully, Genevieve arrives just in time. She rushes in, fights Benny hand to hand and manages to knock him down before Notra suffers the same fate. And as if Benny's breakdown wasn't enough, Froro decides it's his turn to snap. Consumed by sadistic rage, he storms into the prison barracks and starts laying into Notra. Before anyone can stop him, he turns his attention to Albobi and continues the assault. Thankfully, Genevieve is once again forced to play peacemaker. She rushes in, subdues Froro, and brings the chaos to an end before the prisoners can suffer any more injuries. And then the traders surprise us with a goodwill gift. They send us a short bow. Notcha develops an infection in their left leg, so now the clock is ticking. For now, all we can do is keep the medicine flowing and hope the infection doesn't win. Another raid hits the colony, this time from the Cassandra League. All 4 raiders arrived armed with bows, so we immediately take cover behind our buildings and force them into a ranged fight on our terms. As the attackers spread out, Humps and Benny push forward to isolate 2 of them from the rest of the group, turning the battle in our favour. The plan works. 2 raiders are killed, 1 is captured alive for recruitment, and the last manages to escape with their life. Another victory for the colony. After surviving raids, prison breaks, and more than just a few beatings, Zippy finally makes a decision. Instead of fighting us, Zippy agrees to join the colony. With the colony expanding, it's time for a bit of a redevelopment. We relocate our farms to free up valuable space inside the base, giving us room for new buildings and then a more efficient layout. The prison erupts into chaos when Ulro suddenly flies into a berserk rage. Before any of our colonists can even respond, fellow prisoner Al Bobby steps in and takes matters into his own hands. A hungry lynx marks Froro as its next meal and launches a surprise hunt. As if prison life wasn't difficult enough, Ulro comes down with the flu. And after weeks behind bars, Albobi finally gives in. Instead of waiting for another escape attempt, he decides to join the colony. Just as Ulro starts recovering from the flu, disaster strikes again. This time it's the plague. And as if the plague wasn't enough, Ulro completely loses control. He flies into a berserk rage, turning the prison into another battlefield. With the colony finally enjoying a little peace, Benny decides to ruin it. He goes on an insulting spree, wandering around picking arguments with anyone who crosses his path. A war merchant from the Barbarous Covenant arrives just in time. We offload a pile of junk that's been cluttering the stockpile and turn it into something far more valuable. With the extra silver, we stock up on much needed medicine. As the traders prepare to leave, the Barbarous Covenant surprises us once again, and they leave behind a goodwill gesture of 89 silver. We begin laying wooden flooring throughout the bedroom, replacing the rough ground with something a little more comfortable. Albobi goes on a full food binge, helping himself to the colony's food stores without a second thought. Just as Ulro finally finds his place in the colony, we get hit with another unexpected threat. A mad hare charges towards the settlement, turning what should be a peaceful moment into another fight. After everything Ulro went through to finally join the colony, you'd think he'd want to help out. Instead, he immediately goes on a food binge. A defoliator ship crashes nearby, bringing with it 2 scythers. Deadly mechanoids built for one thing: destruction. And with our crops at risk and 2 powerful machines guarding the wreckage, we need to prepare carefully. With a defoliator ship nearby and 2 deadly scythers waiting, we know we can't just rush in. The colony gets to work building defensive cover before the attack begins. We begin planning a proper dining room and recreation room, a place where colonists can relax, eat, and recover after another brutal day. With the threat of Skyther still looming, Genevieve takes some time to test her weapon range and make sure she's ready for the fight ahead. The time has come. The colony moves into position behind the barricades and prepares to take on the two deadly Skythers. The firefight begins, with everyone pouring fire into the Mechanoids while trying to stay alive. But the battle quickly turns dangerous as Benny goes down. With enemies still nearby, he has to be treated right there on the battlefield. Once the Skythers are down, Humps moves to the defoliator ship to destroy it and end the threat once and for all. Just when the colony thought things couldn't get worse, the pantry is overrun by insects. The colonists run into position, trying to contain the infestation before it spreads. Everyone piles into the room, weapons ready. But the swarm is just too much. The bugs overwhelm our defences, forcing everyone to retreat before things turn into a massacre. Zippy goes down first. Followed by Elbowby, leaving the colony scrambling to survive. With the situation looking desperate, Froro steps up and pushes forward, destroying the insect nests and finally bringing the infestation under control. After surviving mechanoids, infestations and countless mental breaks, the colony finally gets some comfort. The recreation room takes another step forward, as tables are built, giving everyone a proper place to sit, eat and relax. With the colony growing and resources becoming harder to manage, it's time for a major improvement. With a new recreation room starting to take shape, it's time to make the most of our existing supplies. The colony moves old chairs over to the new tables, giving everyone a proper place to sit and relax without wasting valuable resources. Old Ray decides to ruin the atmosphere. A sudden corpse obsession takes over, and he drags Dinu's body straight into the dining area. With the colony growing and food production improving, we need space to store our supplies. Orlo develops sensory mechanites. It's a strange condition caused by microscopic machines affecting his body. And if Orlo hasn't suffered enough, a dangerous warg spots him and begins the hunt. After everything he's been through, it finally becomes too much. The illnesses, the injuries, and the constant chaos push him over the edge, and Orlo decides to go into a tantrum. With more prisoners joining the colony, the temporary holding areas are no longer good enough. The team begins mining into the mountain to create proper prisoner cells, giving future captives a secure and more permanent place to stay. The Kexigo League reaches out with an unexpected offer. They want peace talks. We decide to send Genevieve as our representative. Just when we thought we had seen the last of them, another defoliator ship crashes nearby. Again it brings two Skythers ready for battle. Thankfully, the ship lands far enough away that it won't immediately threaten the colony or our crops, giving us some breathing room. Missing a leg and struggling to keep up with everyone else, our baby's slow movement has earned him a new nickname, Limpy. The colony finally gets some good news. After sending Genevieve to represent us, the peace talks are a success. A bear begins hunting Froro, turning a normal day into a fight for survival. The colony immediately rallies together, bringing everyone to deal with the threat before Froro becomes the bear's next meal. We begin planning a new bulk storage area to better organise our supplies and keep everything easier to manage. A mad alpaca charges towards the colony, forcing everyone to react quickly. Genevieve, Benny and Olympia step up to deal with the threat, working together to bring the angry animal down before it can hurt anyone. Another infestation. The colony faces one of its biggest threats yet, and this time, everything goes wrong. With the pantry door left open, Zippy and Genevieve start firing on the insects, hoping to control the infestation before it spreads. That's the first mistake. Fearing the bugs will break through the walls, everyone rushes into the fight. And the colony gets dragged straight into chaos. One by one they fall. Genevieve goes down first, then Froro, Zippy is next, followed by Limpy, Benny, and finally Olro. With the entire colony collapsing around him, Humps is left alone to finish the fight. Against all odds, Humps manages to destroy the remaining insects while the wounded survivors desperately crawl to safety, but the victory comes at a devastating cost. The colony loses Genevieve, Froro, Zippy, Benny, and Olro. After everything they've survived, raids, mechanoids, diseases, and infestations, only Humps and Zippy remain. The colony has been reduced to 2 survivors. A new raid from the Ravenmen, consisting of 5 attackers, stormed towards the base, most of them armed with guns. And then the battle begins. And Beaton is the first raider to go down. But the fight quickly turns against us. The wounded colonists are forced to use cover, trying to draw the attackers closer whilst us staying alive. And then disaster strikes. Both Humps and Limpy are downed, leaving them vulnerable as other raiders move in to capture them. Just when it looks like the colony is finished, a stranger arrives. Baylor Jr., our man in black. He joins the fight and immediately starts turning the battle around. Baylor Jr. takes down Squinty, saving Humps from being kidnapped. With the raid collapsing, Baylor Jr. attempts to capture Eaton, but there's one problem. He's standing in fire to do it. Baylor Jr. and Eaton are caught in the flames. But we get a burnt and battered Eaton, somehow surviving long enough to become the newest prisoner. Just when the colony is barely holding together, a transport pod crashes nearby. Inside is JD. On paper, another survivor is exactly what we need after losing so many colonists. Every pair of hands matters. He may become a problem for the colony in the future, but right now, we don't have the luxury of being picky. and then it all comes down to one final disaster. A herd of mad alpacas charges towards Baylor Jr. Baylor Jr. is caught outside in the open. He desperately tries to make it back to safety, but the alpacas are too fast. He goes down, and the animals turn their attention on Humps next. Despite fighting through raids, infestations and impossible odds, Humps is overwhelmed and falls as well. Baylor Jr. manages to get back up and crawls towards his weapon, hoping for one last chance to save the colony. But the alpacas weren't finished. He's taken down again. With Humps bleeding out and no one left to help, Baylor Jr. makes his final crawl back to bed knowing he only has 24 hours left to live. After all the battles, all the sacrifices, and all the rebuilding, the colony is finally over. Well, that didn't go as planned. Huge thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the series, drop a like, comment and subscribe to help the channel grow and so you don't miss the next adventure. Please let me know down in the comments what scenario or mods you want to see next. Until then, stay safe out there.